Hi everyone. Today I get to listen to another new band. I'm beginning to wonder how many bands have I listened to since I started this project. It has been so many new ones, and I'm sure there are dozens, hundreds even more for me to go. Thousands? I don't know, but a lot. And then the fact that I've just listened to one or two of each band, I have a lifetime of listening ahead of me just to get through the basics. This happens to be a German band by the name of Bethlehem. And what I understand about it is that it is a German extreme metal band formed in 1991. And I've been getting a bit more familiar with metal and its subgenres and content recently. In fact, just earlier this month, I did 2 different interviews, each with a different metal band composer. And I remember one of them saying something that stuck in my mind, because this is one of the things I've noticed about a lot of metal music, although I know it's not every metal genre's goal, but much metal seems to tend towards the darker side. And I remember one of them saying that they look more towards using it to express hopefulness and light and not using it in the dark, morbid way that a lot of metal does. Well, this band here, Bethlehem, I understand that many of their lyrics revolve around sickness, morbidity, suicide, death and madness, and may be to some extent personal to the band. That sounds rather dark and heavy. A bit different from the more recent metal listens I've done. But I'm going to give it a shot anyway. This song is called Schatten aus der Alexander Welt, which Schatten I think is German for shadow, so kind of maybe roughly translates as the shadow of Alexander Welt. Alexander's World, perhaps. Before I listen, let me just remind you, you can always check out my Ko-fi and Patreon if you want to support my journey, or if you want to see what I have there that is not on YouTube. We're having a lot of fun right now with some live listening to music together sessions, and of course plenty of things that can't go on YouTube because of various copyright hindrances. So check it out if you want, and join us there if you wish. And now, let's see what this Bethlehem band is all about.
Distinguishing Leichnams.
Sounds like some sort of horror movie.
Und erwarte mit besessener Hingabe die erlösende Begierde meines vielgefriedenen
Okay, I don't even have to know what the lyrics translation is, because this is clearly frightening, terrifying, gruesome, horrible. It's like, well, I have to say that whoever this singer is, I don't even know the singer's name yet. Whoever this singer is doing an incredible job of conveying these sorts of horrifying emotions and images. It's very colorful, graphic. It's graphic. That's what I would say. It's I don't go for horror films. I don't go for horror movies. But I'm thinking, this fellow, he ought to sign up as an actor for some horror movie, at least the voice for some, maybe a voice double for somebody, because he's got it. Isn't it so strange?
Wie kann sie auf? Und ich fühle mich drin, dort tief in den Pool, meiner Prophezeiung steht. Ja! Bedarf nur zwei Schüsse, den König zu töten.
I can't say that I'm terribly impressed with the band itself as I am with the voice. I'm not saying I like the voice. I really dislike this kind of art, we could say. It's not me. I don't like it, and I'll say that openly. But I actually find this voice to be effective, incredibly effective. I feel like the band is almost not up to the task. It almost can't keep up with the voice. I'm listening to the guitar. Would you ever imagine a day when I said, I think the guitar is not edgy enough, not powerful enough. It doesn't have enough claws in it, in its sound. I'm saying that today, right now. It doesn't sound enough of the... Shall I go back to my original preconception of rock music and say it doesn't have enough of the factory noise in it? It's just... And probably I shouldn't fault the band so much as I should praise the voice. Well, as you know, I haven't listened to I guess this is the first time I've listened to a piece of music with this extreme of a voice. I've listened to some pretty dark pieces, but this, it feels like it's on another level. Really, to me, it does.
Goodbye to Gravity was kind of similar.
But it wasn't this kind of...
Not that.
It wasn't this horror. It was different. No, I feel like something in this voice is on another level than I've ever heard before. And as much as I dislike it, I'm incredibly impressed by it. I don't know enough to know if it's an unusually good voice, or if it's just because I haven't stepped into this part of the metal genre enough to become familiar with this kind of voice enough to recognize it as standard. But anyway, here it sounds like the voice has taken center stage. The voice is the star. The band, okay, bum bum dee 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 bum 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 dee dee dee, and some drums. I hear some. It's almost too gentle. It doesn't keep up with the voice. Can you believe I'm saying that? But I am. I'm just trying to balance the two, and it's a funny thing to feel that way. It needs either more grittiness or more in-your-face hardness. Now with this reverb here, it actually fills it out. Even though the instruments have lightened, it fills out the sound and makes it a little bit more creepy and scary sounding to match what we've been hearing in the voice. It's like you have shadows and reflections and voices and strange spaces. Notice there's no guitar here. It's that softer sound. You know, I feel like this is an interesting masterclass on sound, timbre, balance between different voices and textures. This ending section that we just heard, there was no electric guitar sound there. It was more like a synth keyboard, or maybe it was guitar done with a bunch of modifications. I don't know exactly what, but bum, 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 bum. It's a round, soft, more mellow sound. And yet, that portion of the music was better matched in overall impact to what the voice was expressing than all the crazy drumming and guitar that was happening earlier in the piece. That's a really good thing for musicians and composers to keep in mind, is that sometimes if you're going for the most shocking, horrific, arresting quality, maybe you shouldn't go to the most obvious choices, because sometimes a different path, sometimes less is more. Sometimes leaving something unsaid, unstated, makes a greater impact than just trying to throw it all at you in one massive wall of sound, which this time, the voice just ruled. This voice to me was something incredible. I'm thinking, okay, who would want to learn to sing like that? What did he do as a kid? Was he just like trying to scare his parents and his siblings all the time, and he was just trying to come up with the most frightening sounds his voice could? Was he good at screaming and making it sound like he was dying when he wanted to get his... I don't know. What would send a person that way to want to use their voice that way? It's a curious question, isn't it? Of course, it could be anything. And as I read at the beginning, much of their music is said to possibly be personal to the band. So it sounds like perhaps even the band members have some pretty dark demons to fight, dark experiences. If it's a bit biographical, autobiographical, that makes you wonder what sort of lives have these people had? What sort of lives do they have? And is this a sort of therapy to them? Or is it an indulgence? And for us as listeners, do we listen to this as a therapy? Do we have our own demons to fight and this somehow helps us work our way through it? Or is it an indulgence for our darker side? Does it cultivate those qualities and that worldview, that the psychological state that we find in the music? And I suppose it's different for each person. Well, as far as the musical content of the piece, by that I mean melody, harmony, dissonance, part writing, rhythm, all of that. There isn't much in here, is there? I mean, okay, we could find a few little riffs, motifs, we could find some lines I heard, but nothing that really jumped out to me as being really that important, meaning it could have been anything. They just needed something to back up the voice. That doesn't mean that the music is entirely irrelevant. It simply means that that is not the focus of the piece. To my ears, the musical elements, they take a back seat. It could be any other notes. It could be the same notes in a different order. It could be, he could have struck the drums a bit differently. Different one here, different one there. And I don't think that, at least I, would have felt any great loss or gain one way or the other. So, what does that say about the structure of the piece? Well, to me, it says that the musical part of it is not what's important. What's important here in this, shall we say, piece of artwork is the feeling we get, the emotion we experience, the place we enter. When that first scream hits our ears. I was a bit shocked when I heard the first second of it. Taken aback. Oh wow, this is clearly pushing us deep into this world. And that's just another way of me saying what I've been saying all along. It's about the voice. It's about what the voice is portraying. This singer, he could have even screamed some other pitches. We wouldn't have cared so much. But it's the timbre, it's the quality of his voice, it's the frantic desperation and the fear, the panic that we hear building up in his voice, and as it rises higher, and we think, he sounds like all hell is after him. Well, that may be true, depending on your definition of hell, but it's about what the singer is telling us through the associations we have with those vocal qualities. And so the specific pitches become rather irrelevant. Having said that, it was surprisingly clean pitch-wise. Wherever he was singing, I could have sung a pitch to match pretty close. And same with the instruments underneath. So it's an interesting combination of the notes themselves being rather unimportant and yet being incredibly clean. And perhaps that is because you don't want to be distracted. If you really want to convey this kind of mood, world, you don't want your listeners to be distracted with something that is a little bit out of focus. You want it to be clean so that everything pushes you towards that voice, and everything, even as I'm somewhat criticizing the instrumentation and that it's not hard enough to match the voice, perhaps that also is a bit intentional, perhaps, because you want it all to be about the voice and what the voice is portraying. That's at least what I see in it and how I perceive it. I don't love it. I don't like it. In fact, I strongly dislike it. It's okay. I think anyone who listens to this kind of music should think very carefully about why they listen to it. Is it helpful? Or is it hurtful? Is it something that helps you? Because we know that sometimes dark music helps us get through dark places and helps us find our way out of those dark places. If it does that for someone, that's fabulous. If it takes you into a dark place, you might think about whether you really want to be going there and if there's a better place to be. Again, my thoughts and my feelings as I hear this kind of music, which is really quite intense. belongs in the horror movies. Well, there I have my first listen, first exposure to the German band Bethlehem. And I wonder, do they have any perhaps softer pieces of music? Like, well, Rammstein is known as a pretty hard band, but they did On a Dich, and I've heard that there are a couple at least one piano-focused piece, which I'm eager to hear at some point as well, that are really, really warm and embracing. Does Bethlehem have a piece like that, perhaps? If you know of one, let me know, because it would be interesting to listen now and compare between this and perhaps a softer, warmer song that they've produced. Here I have stepped into, I almost feel like, another world. I'll see you soon. Can I listen to Seaside Rendezvous now?